Hello, revolutionaries. I want to talk to you today about invisible service providers. An invisible service provider is something that's key to every organization. It's employees who don't directly work with customers. Okay? It might be people at home office, it might be people in the warehouse, it might be people in the kitchen, whatever business model you have, but they are so key. And I want to tell you a great example that happened in my life where I was an invisible service provider, but the business I was working for failed to tell me how important it was. So when I was in college, I loaded trucks for UPS from 3:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. every night before I went to school, off to class. And I pretty much did a good job, but not always. Sometimes I didn't, get as much sleep as I should have. And I'd come in and I'd have 3 trucks and you'd get these packages and you'd have to load them in order. Every street, every address had an order of a specific place that went on that truck's, shelving so that the driver, when he came in at 8:30, could, trust that it was loaded in order. Well, at around 8:25, right before it was done, I'd load up my packages, the big packages that filled up, and then try to close the door and have it packed in like a sardine. Well, always happens after you get it loaded. A package, an envelope would come down the conveyor belt, and you'd grab it and you'd look at it, and it was for, 113 Main Street. 113 Main Street goes up in the front section, almost first package, and it was an envelope. So I had one of two choices. I could take all that big bulk boxes out, climb through, and put it where it belonged, or a much rapid way to do it is I was pretty good at Frisbee, so I'd fling it over all the big bulk and hope it would end up somewhere close to where it belonged. Well, you already know what I chose to do. I wanted to get out of there. I was exhausted, go take a shower, get to school. So I would do my Frisbee. Well, the next day, the truck driver would come in and he would be livid and he'd be, cussing at me and how I ruined his day. And, I was like, had no empathy for what he was saying, just, thought he was a blowhard. And it wasn't until after I graduated from college, I went driving for UPS, and I'm out there and I'm delivering in order and I'm rushing and I'm trying to get home because at this time I, am just married and have a newborn at home, and I'm skipping my lunches and breaks and running to every stop so I could get home early. And around, 4 o'clock, I'd get to, one of my last stops. I have 3 stops left. I'd get on the payphone. This is how long ago it was. This is the late 80s. And I'd call my wife and say, hey, I only got 3 more packages to deliver. I'll be back in the warehouse by 4:30, at home by 5. Make dinner, make reservations. Let's have a great night. And then I'd go and pick up one of the last 2 packages that was misloaded. It's in the back of the truck, and it was meant to be loaded in the front of the truck where I was at this morning at 9 o'clock. But now I'm across town, and I have to go across town in rush hour to deliver this package, which means now I'm not going to get home until after 6 p.m. But it wasn't until that moment I realized the impact the preloader, loading the truck in the middle of the night, had on the driver. And that's what UPS failed to teach me as a preloader. I was an invisible service provider. If you had asked me when I was a preloader who my customer was, I would say I didn't have customers. Or my customer was a box, as long as I didn't damage the box. But I did have a customer. I had the UPS driver was my customer. And they needed to teach me the day in the life of the driver and how dependent he or she was on the job I did. And I would have been totally different, more empathetic, and paid more attention to the job I was doing. Consider who your invisible service providers are. Teach them who their customer is within your organization and the impact they have on their customers.